Chestnuts roasting on an open fire, Jack Frost nipping at your nose, Yuletide carols being sung by a choir, and folks dressed up like Eskimos.
He can never get enough of me, ladies and gentlemen. Come on, when you hear Nat King Cole, you gotta dance. Music changes you. You know that? Music does it for you. But hold on, wait a second. Welcome to another episode of Conspiracies and Mysteries, where trust when he turns that mic on, we get the energy. And you know, Troy, I popped that pill, so I have about another 3.5 hours to go. So let's go, ladies and gentlemen. We never want to waste it. $4 a pop, like I wouldn't know what I'm talking about. Hey, Troy, how you doing?
Pretty good. How you doing?
Brother, I'm excited, I'm wound, I'm nervous because did you know the next 2 weeks?
Now, don't lie to me.
I'm wound.
Hey, really?
I had a great show earlier today.
You did. I listened to
show.
something.
Thank you, dude.
Very good.
And tonight, it blows my mind, Troy. It really does. Because when I think of Christmas, I do. I think of Christmas decorations. I think we're going to the in-laws' house. You know, these parties and the gifts and the joy. But then, I also know it's a very depressing season.
Oh, it can be.
For
sure.
some.
Oh, yeah.
But then, wait, we're not done. And then you're telling me there's an actual history of Christmas? So tonight's topic is the origins
There's
of
a history,
Christmas?
sure. I mean, and it goes through all kinds of generations and countries and this and that. And for a while, I don't know if you knew this, but Christmas was actually banned from the United States for a while. Did you know that?
No, but
It was.
before you just ask a yes or no question, tell me why.
I don't know why. It was just. I don't
So
know
what
if it
time?
was
What time
a
is it?
religious thing? I think.
Okay.
I think there was. I can't remember. I should have written that down, but it was not in the United States for a while.
So let me ask you this: if you're listening, how would you act? Let's just say you're 54 years old, right? And you've experienced Christmas as a kid and as a parent. Let me ask you this: if they said 2026, Christmas is no longer, I know that's a shocker, but I want you guys to comment. If you don't want to be seen on the Facebook commentary, I'm trustonriverbender@gmail.com, and I guarantee this. I bet nobody's ever asked that question.
I'm going to ask a question.
How would life be without Christmas?
It sounds like the Grinch or something. Isn't there a Grinch movie where there's no Christmas? He steals all the presents or something?
Yeah, but at the end of the story, he comes around, brother man.
Well, yeah.
He
I
comes
think we
around.
all do, but-
So again, before Troy starts talking, how would you feel, honestly, if there was no Christmas? Now, some of you, I might already see some answers. Well, trust, I'll have a lot more money in the checking account, you know. But again, folks, you know, I don't want to say it as a joke because Christmas can be very depressing for some. As my 2:00 show, they're having their first Christmas without their dad or their husband.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I can see that depressing, and I can see depressing where you don't have the funds to get your loved ones all these gifts or what have you. But I also want to remind you, even though I know we're on a different podcast, let me remind you that your presence is way more important than any gift out there. But still, I'm going to let Troy talk, I promise. But I do want to hear from you. If 2026, they said there is no longer Christmas, how would you react? Not asking you, Troy, but I'm asking them.
Oh, I thought you were
How would they? Well, I could ask you, but how would you react? So, Troy, if there was no Christmas in 2026, how does that hit home for you?
You know what? Honestly, I don't think it'd bother me.
Okay.
Now, my son is 28. I mean, when you have kids, man, it is great. And it's a great tool to get them to go to bed, to behave. So, I mean, there's, you know, it's a magical time. I remember when I was married, I got divorced. My ex-wife said, well, I'm going to tell him there's no Santa Claus, whatever. I said, don't do that. Don't. I said, come on. He's going to find, just give me another year with him to be this child wonderment about life and Christmas and, you know, and so she went ahead and let me do it. But and once you don't have kids and they've grown, and maybe you don't see them or maybe they pass or something, it is a very hard and brutal time in people's lives. You know, so.
Now, when you say that, 28 years old Alex, is that like empty nest syndrome?
Well, luckily, he still finds his dad interesting enough to to be with me. So I'm.
Well, he's not the only one because you got these people tuning in, brother. You're doing something.
Well, I'm not an empty nester yet, but I don't even want to think about that. But anyway, I know it's going to happen. I'm going to tell you, before we get started,
Yes.
I always talk about the research, and I hate to be a broken record. And a little later, I'm going to expose this guy, but there is a website that I came across called the Serapeum, SERAPEUM.com. Okay. Very good on research, particularly about Christmas or other things religiously related.
Okay.
Christian related history. Okay. But I'll tell you what we ought to do since we ought to get this going because we got 3 or 4 videos. Let's go ahead and show that first video.
All right. If I can work this IT, here we go. Let me get the screen share. Boom. And
Nimrod, whose name Hebrew, played a pivotal role in the organized apostasy from the Most High that has shaped the world. Nimrod's legacy continued through his demonic marriage to his own mother, Semiramis, who after his death propagated the belief in Nimrod's survival as a spirit being. She claimed that an evergreen tree sprang from a dead tree stump overnight, symbolizing the rebirth of Nimrod. December 25th became the birthday of Nimrod, marking the real origin of the Christmas tree tradition. Semiramis, through her scheming, became the Babylonian Queen of Heaven, and Nimrod, under various names, became the divine Son of Heaven. This false Babylonish system worshipped the mother and child, Semiramis and Nimrod reborn, spreading across the world under different names like Isis and Osiris in Egypt, Cybele and Dioeus in Asia, and Fortuna and Jupiter Puer in pagan Rome. Again, as Christianity spread during the 4th and 5th centuries, this is when many pagans embraced the new faith, blending their old customs with Christian-sounding names. The mother and child theme became especially popular during Christmas, evident in hymns like Silent Night, Holy Night.
Silent night endures as long as the world is conflicted, restless, and at war, for as long as we need it.
Shocking as it may be, the real origin of Christmas traces way back to ancient Babylon, intertwined with organized apostasy that has influenced the world for centuries. The celebration of December 25th as the birth of the divine Son of the Queen of Heaven was not unique to Christianity, but existed in various forms across pagan cultures long before the birth of who the world refers to as Christ. Nimrod, whose name means he rebelled.
wow.
Made a note here.
That's right. Hey, not only does Troy have notes, even after watching that, he's taking notes.
Yeah.
Now, Troy, some of that stuff goes pretty deep for me, so help me elaborate on that. Because it's definitely, when you talk about the origins of Christmas, that is not the Christmas I think of right now.
No.
It's not the lights, the decorations. We're going right back to what you always go back to.
Yeah, there's 2 schools of thought that I will get to at the end about how to maybe perceive Christmas. But, I think a couple shows back we talked about palindromes. And I told you that the occult or whatever use this to say names. They're always going backwards. They say things in backwards speak.
Well, you did the app. I remember you were
Right.
doing the app. Yeah.
And Semiramis was one of the names that you could do forward and backward. I don't know. She was the Queen of Heaven, the original Babylonian Queen of Heaven. Okay. And as we get towards Easter, I'll go into a story about Easter or Ishtar. But Tammuz, I don't know if you've ever heard that name.
Timu, they're always trying to sell me stuff like
Not
that.
Timu, no. Tammuz, or Hormuz, okay, but in the Bible they talk about the 40 days of weeping for Tammuz, okay. So anyway, he is. What was interesting about that was they talked about the mother and child, okay. Do you know that when the Catholics went to Asia to spread the word, right, about Jesus, they were already familiar with the Trinity, the Father, the Son, and the Mother, okay, which is, well, I'll get into here in a minute, but they already knew about it.
Is that going back to
So
our foreknowledge?
Well, what I'm saying is these traditions had spread all around the world. This religion of the mother, the father, and the child. It spread before the Catholics even get over to Asia. They'd already knew about it. And they were kind of baffled about it. But anyway, these stories are very old. They originated in Babylon. And you've heard me talk about Nimrod, right? And I hope people, if that's a name that you're not familiar with, I hope you, and I don't mean name calling, oh, you're a Nimrod.
Which we talked about before.
We talked about it.
Hey, listen, I'm naive Brian, okay? So how many times have you guys been growing up and you said, you Nimrod? And you know, I used to say that, whether it was bullying activists or what have you, but I'm going to be accountable. I had no idea that Nimrod was such a big thing in history.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit more about Nimrod, so I could be a little bit more...
My interpretation of it, here is the king of Babylon who is trying to rebel against God, built the Tower of Babel, right? And I think he was trying to create a sun cult, okay, which still permeates to this day. I mean, you know, even Christianity touches it a little bit with, Christ being maybe a solar deity. I mean, with the crown and the IHS sun rays or whatever. But I want to. You got something to say?
Well, I was going to say, I have a better understanding now when you speak of this, when you said he rebels against God, and then you just said the Tower of Babel. Mm-hmm. If I'm not mistaken, folks, I'm trying to pick up the books and read, just like Troy's got the books, but somebody was sharing this with me, and now it's making a little bit more sense. When we start learning the Word, and we start really understanding it, then is it Nimrod that had his, the Babel, I don't know if it was Babel speech or he was trying to change the interpretation of the Word, because, again, if you're going against God, well, as people start growing and become believers, let's change the verbiage and the wording. I can't remember, there was a name for it, the Tower, not the Tower, but I think it had something to do directly with
Well, he
Babel.
confounded the tongues. And there's a whole story about, when the tongues were, people couldn't understand each other. Then language interpreters obviously were needed, and he didn't get any help. I mean, there's even one story about an Egyptian princess who, I guess the pharaoh sent out overseas and landed in Ireland, and said who she was, whatever. They said, well, we don't want you. So she goes to Scotland, and that's her name was Scotia. And so I think that's where Scotland got their name. But anyway, that's another.
I'm always willing to learn.
But anyway, the Christmas tree is a big thing at Christmas time. And they act like maybe it's not in the Bible, that there's nothing wrong with the Christmas tree. And when I first got reading some of this stuff, I thought, that's it. I'm not having a Christmas tree. And to this day, I don't have a Christmas tree in my house out of respect for what I think is in the Bible. Okay.
So is that what this next clip is about?
Well, I forgot. Let's go ahead and run it.
Okay. We'll run it.
Christmas trees originated from Nimrod. There was a man in the Bible named Nimrod. His birthday is December 25th. Glory to God. From history's perspective, Nimrod died, and to keep celebration of Nimrod, who was a person that was considered to be a ruler, they would plant evergreen trees. And they would deck those evergreen trees. And some people loved Nimrod, wanted to celebrate it so much so, they went and they cut down trees, and they would put trees in their homes and to celebrate and commemorate Nimrod. But then the heathen, the ones that say they're Christians, they took that custom and said, we're going to do it for Jesus' birthday. Christmas trees are...
Wow, dude. I didn't know.
Jeremiah 10:2 through 4. Learn not the way of the nations, nor be dismayed at the signs of heaven, because the nations are dismayed at them. For the customs of the people are vanity. A tree from the forest is cut down and worked with an axe by the hands of a craftsman. They decorate it with silver and gold and fasten it with a hammer and nails so that it cannot move. Now, what does that sound to you? What does that
I
sound
know
like?
exactly what that sounds like, but again, I go to it, ladies and gentlemen. I'm gonna hold myself accountable. I don't know if naive is a bad word, but again, Troy, 6 kids, grandchildren. I would never have stopped to think of the origins of Christmas because it is. I mean, that's what's cool about this podcast.
I don't know if it came out in any of the videos or not, but there's this whole story of Semiramis and her husband Nimrod, and when they realized that his worship was not good, evil in fact, he was cut up in pieces and spread out. Okay, so I guess the idea was, if this could happen to Nimrod, the great Babylonian king, this could happen to you if you're worshiping evil. And so they cut him up and put him in different places, scattered his remains or whatever.
The show now is PG-13 plus.
Okay, well, I won't even get into the other part of it, but what I will say is a evergreen tree is in this tale of Semiramis and Nimrod, where she came back to see him, to grieve. The next day, a evergreen had sprung up, and she took that as he had risen, resurrected, or a message that he was alive in heaven. But he was the sun god. He was the original sun god. Okay, and we have a long history of places around the world that worship the sun. Years ago when I first started reading about this, when I heard about sun worship, I thought, I've never heard about that. But I mean, it's everywhere in these old customs, traditions, cultures, whatever you want to call it. So anyway, I guess I might as well talk about it now.
Okay.
I always tell people to research. Okay, don't be, grab a coffee, sit there and do a little reel on YouTube, and then you've arrived at the truth. I mean, if you want to live that way, that's entirely up to you. But in this research, I was watching this guy. He kept popping up, and he was talking about how all of basically what I have to say is nonsense. Okay, and so he's mentioning some of these books, and I thought, this guy hasn't read those books. So I went to my room, and I got the books that I've read. Okay, now I've not read this. This one is the complete works of Josephus. Okay, he was a Jewish documentarian. You got to remember, the Jews, the oral traditions are the only thing we had for a long time. Even the Bible is a lot of oral tradition by the Jews. And they had to get it just right. And this guy, this is what he did. I mean, he wrote down everything about history of what was going on in his day. Well, this guy on YouTube, he must live on there, or I don't know, and he was talking about how Nimrod did not, do the Tower of Babylon. And he just whisked right through it, and I thought, you know what? I know that's a lie. So I went to my book of Josephus, and if you want to read along with me, or maybe I'll just read here.
Clark Kent, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, right. Now it was Nimrod who excited them to such an affront and contempt of God. He was a grandson of Ham, the son of Noah, a bold man, and of great strength of hand. He persuaded them not to ascribe it to God, as if it was through his means that they were happy, but to believe that it was their own courage which procured that happiness. He also gradually changed the government into tyranny, seeing no other way of turning men from the fear of God, but to bring them into constant dependence upon his power. He also said he would be revenged on God if he should have a mind to drown the world again, for that he would build a tower too high for the waters to be able to reach, and that he would avenge himself on God for destroying their forefathers. So, Mr. I don't know what his name was, philosophy guy or whatever, I'm calling you out, okay? So, we're on YouTube, aren't we?
Yes.
Maybe he'll see this, and wants to get a hold of me because
Once
I'm
we get the
calling you
name of
up.
the philosophy guy, we'll tag him.
I think that's what it's called or something. I mean,
I know that.
he's clown, but
So before we go to a commercial break, Troy, here's what I want to ask you. I love our conspiracies and mysteries because a lot of times we talk about the rabbit holes. Now, on this particular topic, just like Halloween, that was fascinating for me because, again, I live life day to day. I don't really ever think about the origins. But when Christmas, outside when we talk about depression, which is usually financials or without loved ones, how do you think people take, like even this podcast right now where, stop, I don't want to know about the origins. I just want to have Christmas. I want to go to the in-laws and have the food and open up gifts. So I ask you this, before we go to the commercial, to our viewers and listeners, what's the importance that they should know about the origins? What I'm saying is, to go from the origins to be in modern society today, the importance of this topic.
well, just my opinion. I mean,
And that's what our podcast is. It's our opinion.
do you want to be deceived your whole life?
And that's why I'm asking you.
I mean, and then the question is, are you deceived if you didn't know any better? And I know I'm going to catch heat for it, but that's fine because this is like cold water thrown on people who go through all these customs, have no idea what they're really for. Christmas is not in the Bible. Matter of fact, there's a lot of people who think Jesus was born on 9/11. Now you say, oh my God, that's awful. But if you think about it, great atrocities were performed on 9/11. So if you were the devil, wouldn't you think, well, you know what, I'm just going to, make evil on this day. So he was not born on December 25th. I know the Catholics think it, and but it is sun worship, okay, originally. Now, I was going to wrap this up in the show, but when do we get to have our own customs?
So I just want to elaborate real fast. I like the fact, because I asked you a question, your opinions matter, and I'm asking Troy, but you just brought up a very valid statement. Deception. Don't we talk about that with governments, and they only want to tell us certain things. So sometimes I feel a lot of times when we do go back to the origins, why today is it so commercialized? And listen, for some, they probably could care less what we have to say. But it's going to go back to that day I told you I saw the lady out on Home Rams Parkway.
Oh, yeah.
And she was speaking of how would Jesus feel about Thanksgiving. So there are some...
Oh, it was Halloween.
Halloween, thank you. Right. So, there is, right. Maybe you listening, chill out. I'm going for the food. I'm going to open up gifts. I get it. But I do like the fact that you talk about deception, because there are people out there who live in the Word, and you're saying this isn't in the Word. But hey, before I keep rambling, I already got CJ in my ear saying, trust. We got to pay for this show. So let's go to a commercial, and we'll be right back.
At Marquette Catholic High School, tradition is more than a word. It's a way of life. From championship athletics to community service, from lifelong friendships to faith-filled values, Marquette students carry a legacy of excellence. Together, we build a stronger community on the field, in the classroom, and beyond. Marquette Catholic, where tradition meets tomorrow. Visit marquettecatholic.org and see why Marquette is the right choice for your family.
You won't find a better health club than Nautilus Fitness Center. More cardio, more free weights and equipment, more classes, a swimming pool, and more. If you're serious about your health and want to make a change, then stop thinking about it and visit Nautilus Fitness Center on Industrial Drive in Alton. Don't fall for the hype you get from the other health clubs. Nautilus is the Riverbend's premier health club. Has been for years and will be for years to come. Get to Nautilus Fitness Center and get started on a healthier new you.
The mood is right, the spirit's up. We're here tonight, that's enough. Simply having a wonderful Christmas time. Simply having a wonderful Christmas time. The party's on, the feeling's here, that only comes.
It's not there, but there's a lot of stuff that's still there. But you're going to have to get through the fluff of this false information being in your face. Okay, these reels perfectly match people's attention spans nowadays.
Well, especially with AI.
Oh yeah, I mean, you know.
So for some of you that missed out with our lips moving and not hearing anything, my belly, that dicky-do disease, I think my belly was sticking out more than my dicky-do, and I had the volume down, so I apologize. So to recap on that topic, listen, Christmas and New Year's, the next 2 weeks the studio is down, but here's what, you got plenty of time. Trust on RiverBender@gmail.com or on our Facebook page, Conspiracies and Mysteries. What topics would you like us to explore? Not only would you like us to explore, would you like to be involved on that particular topic? And what I was getting at, you've heard Troy say it before. So a lot of times you could debunk YouTube because everybody's got their opinion, right?
I just did. I'm waiting for that guy to get back.
Right, he called him out. But a lot of times what Troy has shared before on Google, you would find knowledge, and that knowledge is no longer there. So where that sounds crazy, it's always in paperback. I'm going back to paperback. But you know what? At first I would kind of laugh at that. I'm like, why would people take their time, spend their time, and trying to remove data that's been there before? And normally I wouldn't believe that. But the more that I do this podcast, it goes back to what I always say. It goes back to our government. It goes back to our city government, our state government, the United States of America. Why do they get to pick and choose the information they want to release to us?
It's control. It's control. I mean, the whole thing is control. You know, there's some people who think that the Bible's written to control people, you know, and it does a very good job in controlling.
That's why they talk about faith over fear.
Yeah.
Because that word, if you don't follow the word, there's that fear, you know, the intensity. So you're exactly right.
You know, I don't want to keep harping on Nimrod, but I've got a book here. There's some faiths that don't like this book. I've read it twice. This guy on YouTube calls it out, but he doesn't prove it. His theories on anything. This book is called The Two Babylons. Okay, the papal worship proved to be the worship of Nimrod and his wife. And I am going somewhere with this, but this is an eye opener if you ever want a good read. I mean, it's written by Alexander Hyslop, and they talk about the mark of the beast, and they talk about this sun worship religion that I believe Nimrod was trying to create. Okay, then Christianity comes along. You know, the Catholics think, okay, what are we going to do here? We've got these heathens running around, right? celebrating these pagan holidays. What are we going to do? Midwinter celebrations like Saturnalia, which was a celebration that would go on for days in Rome. People would have orgies. They would eat, like crazy. They would. The slaves became the masters, and vice versa. And the drunkenness. I mean, all these things. But it all built up to December 25th.
Yes.
Okay.
I know where you're going at with this.
And for the resurrection of the sun. The resurrection of the sun. Okay. That's straight out of the Bible. And so it's, when I first read this book, I thought, man, I don't know. I mean, is this all a ruse, And so I went back and read my Bible, I did my research on Jesus. All of that is real. But the Catholics had a heck of a time because what are we going to do here? We have got to convert these pagans into Christians. And so what they would do is they would build a temple of one of their gods or goddesses, and right next to it they'd build a Catholic church, right? Like the idea is, well, listen, here, this is okay too, So they converted them, okay? Now, they did a great job because honestly, there's still a lot of these third world countries, that's all it is Catholicism, which is great, But they mixed the paganry with Christianity, and I guess maybe they thought they had to. I mean, it was a pretty good tool, but there's still paganry in it. Yeah. Now I did find it interesting that, and I don't mean to keep going here, but I want to.
You want me to book a flight to Rome? Now I know why people go to Rome. It's not because to see Gladiator.
No, but they did
orgies on the air. You did. You said that, but
they were sacrificing children.
But before we go to the children comment, because I heard about why they cry when they see Santa, but I did some reading on that, and when they were talking about Christmas, the abundance of liquor, the abundance of food, it was a party for all, and when they say for all,
it was pure hedonism. It was the celebration of the unconquered sun, or Soli Invictus, and so it was all paganry. And there's some people that contend that Constantine remained a pagan until the day he died, but that's up for debate.
But I'm gonna interrupt because I'm really good about interrupting. Okay. You said something during commercial break, and I don't think we have any children listening, so I'm gonna go here. You were talking because it is like I said. The origins I'm learning, but the everyday life, every one of you out there know what I'm talking about because sometimes it's our kid. When they go to sit on Santa Claus's lap, right, you can't get them to sit still. You can't get them to smile. When we do, we're like, yeah. But then here's what Troy just told me, that there's actually, I don't know the proper word for it, but you're saying back in the day, no children, this is adult supervision before we go into this. You're saying there's actually
child sacrifice. Yeah, child sacrifice to Moloch. They would offer these babies to this burning wicker man of a statue made out of bronze, and they would offer their children. And so when you see the children crying, sitting on Santa Claus' lap, I mean, it's I don't know if it's not DNA or what, but I mean, the children certainly don't like it.
Every time we talk about the origins of, all I gotta tell you is I'm glad that we live in today's society. Yeah, I really am, because almost every time we get into that topic, I couldn't imagine.
Barbaric.
Yeah, that you just nailed it. Barbaric.
Yeah. Yeah, and I try and look at it from a bunch of different ways. I think, well, okay, what if the pagans and the Christians, as far as the sun god goes, is correct? I mean, is Jesus could he be a solar? I mean, is heaven the sun? You can't in the Bible. You can't look at God. Here we can't look at the sun. I'm just trying to figure my world out, and then it came to me one night. I thought, these people who lived in Babylon and so forth are doing these things. They're just trying to figure out the world. Not child sacrifice. No, I'm not, talking about that. But a lot of people, they're just trying to figure out the world, So we've got one more video that I want to run here.
Let's see if, no, we've already done that one. So let's get this right, Trust. Here we go.
Why is the birth of Jesus celebrated on December 25th, also known as Christmas? This probably relates to the winter solstice, a period celebrated in numerous pagan traditions. In mythology, there is a strong association between the winter solstice with death and rebirth, particularly related to agriculture and later on with the sun. This period surrounding the shortest days of the year coincided with festivities like Saturnalia. It's considered the peak of winter, the end of the harvest cycle, when it's typically the coldest and darkest in northern latitudes. Following the winter solstice, the days gradually grow longer, eventually birthing new vegetation. In the waning Roman Empire, and with the emergence of celebrations for Sol Invictus on December 25th in 274 CE, it's not hard to see how Christians begun celebrating the birth of their light bearer around the same time as the Roman Saturnalia and the birthday of the invincible sun. The Christian deity serving the role of a dying and rising god mirrors traditional thought that Romans were accustomed to.
I was just watching that. It reminded me of something that I had read. It's been a long time ago, so I can't remember exactly, but I think the time between Easter and Christmas is about 9 months. Okay? So I think, in the old days when they talked about the fertility rites of spring, I think this story about the women getting pregnant 9 months later, giving birth to these children, and then going to Moloch to be sacrificed.
Barbaric again.
Oh, unbelievable!
Now, you just picked out two topics, and if I had this grin on my face, it's because it's something I learned on my earlier podcast. I think I've asked it to you before. Are you familiar with the term creaster?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I've got people who serve on the streets in Missouri, and they always like volunteers, and they're asking, hey, we'll take the creasters. And I'm like, what the heck is a creaster? And they said that's the two biggest times that people like to step up for the holidays, Christmas and Easter. And, now that you're doing this 9 month, again, there's so much history. And that kind of goes to my question, as I want to ask. How can someone respect the historical roots without losing the magic of today? That's kind of what I asked you before the first commercial.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, how old are you?
54.
Yeah, you're getting right.
My waist size, maybe.
Well,
I need a boomerang to put on this belt.
I can't believe I'm 62, but I want to tell you something. We've all gone through the Christmas thing as children, and I was never negatively affected by any of it. So these historical roots dating back to Babylon is something that you should maybe check out, because I'm telling you, to try and institute a sun science or a sun religion is to me, are we still doing that? I mean, are we still, when we go through these traditions, are we still doing that? Like I said, I don't have a Christmas tree in my house for that reason, and I don't think that should be in the church either. But that's just my opinion.
So, no, and I appreciate your opinion, because you kind of covered a topic partially of the next question I was going to ask you. If Christmas were starting today, what traditions do you think would stick? Well, we're talking about the origins, what I'm referring to.
I guess I understand what you're saying. You're saying if Christmas didn't exist, what would happen?
Like, what if it started today? Like, what if we didn't have what we have today, the gifts, the Christmas lights, but the origins were true today as we're touching base on?
Oh, you mean
so if Christmas started today?
You're talking about in the days of like Saturnalia?
Yeah, we're talking about the days
well,
of
I guess
what traditions do you think would stick? Now,
I would say that
the drinking.
Yeah, well,
the drinking.
The gift giving came from the feast of Saturnalia. Okay, that's where the gifts came from, and I think the lights on the tree kind of represented, because you got to remember there was no electricity back then. So they would light the candles on the trees because it was dark, man. And so they would celebrate when the sun would come back, because it was like for 3 days. I mean, it was like maybe 2 days. It was gone. I mean, there's nothing. I mean, it's hardly any sun at all. And then it starts to come back gradually, right? So, some smart guy sitting on a mountaintop somewhere probably figured that out, that, this is the day where the sun starts to last a little longer. So it was a celebration, of course it would be. So I do get happy about that, that the sun's coming back. I hate the dark. And I think the goodwill towards, other people, I think should be embraced. And if that is what Christmas is to people, and I don't see the harm in it.
Going back to the origins, and then again, I really enjoyed when we dissected Halloween. I really do. But watching some of these clips and talking with you, some of the things always remain the same. Harvest always comes up.
Oh, yeah.
The dark
They had to eat.
always comes up. So, there.
And the spring fertility rites in Easter, the celebration that the warm season's coming, the promise of rebirth, at Easter time. So, but what else were you going to do back then? You couldn't get on the computer. You didn't have electricity. You had to eat. You couldn't really do anything in the dark. So these things were important to people. And like I said, a lot of these pagan traditions, they're just, I think they were just trying to figure out the world, because if that wasn't the case, then you would be thinking, okay, well, we're going to be evil here. We know it's not right, but we're going to be evil here in these traditions. They didn't know.
We talk about barbaric, and sometimes I just wonder, how did we get to where we're at today? Really, because if you think about it, God bless.
Yeah.
We're spoiled.
Oh, absolutely.
Don't get me wrong, there's depression and there's tragedy, trials and tribulations, but just talking about electric.
As these pagan traditions moved down through different countries and generations, everyone kind of added their own little thing to it. The socks, the Christmas fire, whatever, the mistletoe.
Well, I was just going to say that. Before we go to another commercial break, that was a topic that I enjoyed reading. Folks, let's just say we're talking about fertility.
That was the Gnostics with the mistletoe.
And the mistletoe.
Yeah.
So if Trust starts walking around with a chain, I'm still going to have my cross on it, but there might be a wreath mistletoe hanging. We'll be right back after these messages.
I set the thermostat so my house would be warm when I got home from work, but the kitchen is still cool.
At Barrett Heating and Cooling, we stand behind every Linux system we sell.
My dealer said he'd take care of everything.
At Barrett Heating and Cooling, we understand everyone wants prompt, professional service.
Turns out it wasn't my furnace after all, just a little something blocking the vent.
Pretty smart dog if you ask me. For service you can count on, call Barrett Heating and Cooling.
Lennox. Innovation never felt so good.
At Landmark Realty, we're proud to serve the Riverbend area with offices in Godfrey and Jerseyville. Whether you're buying your first home or your forever home, our team is here to guide you every step of the way. And if you're ready to start your dream business, we can help you find the perfect commercial property. Visit us today at godfreylandmark.com. Landmark Realty, serving the Riverbend and serving you.
Macias Insurance Agency, providing quality products with extremely competitive prices. As an independent provider, we source multiple companies to offer the best rates possible, covering auto, home, business, and life insurance. Our goal is to provide quality service that meets and exceeds customer expectations. You can rest easy knowing the Macias team is working around the clock to ensure that both you and the most important parts of your life are covered. Our qualified professionals make the insurance process easy so you can live carefree and focus on what matters most. Visit MaciasInsuranceAgency.com today to find out what our team can do for you.
It's the best time of the year. I don't know if there'll be snow, but have a cup of cheer. Have a holly jolly Christmas, and when you walk down the street,
Oh,
There, I did it again, dude. What's going on with me? But here we go.
Anyway,
yes,
I don't want people to. I told you the story about the gal that someone had to tell her that her wife was cheating on him, and she would just viciously go after people about it. And then later she realized that it was true. But so I know there's some people out there that are mad or angry at this. What I've been talking about. But I might care a little bit, but this is rooted in several books, tradition, history. None of this is made up here. But it's your take on it. At Christmas, to celebrate, to go through all this stuff, I mean, I think it's harmless nowadays, but there is a little grain that says, are we still carrying on this sun cult tradition that Nimrod tried to institute? And, but people don't know it, so...
I was going to say, I don't think they have that conscience because they don't have the rightful knowledge of it. I mean, here, going back to pre-conversation commercial first one, when you did the analogy of his body was torn apart and all over the place, and then she comes back
reassembled.
Reassembled. And how an evergreen grows.
And then supposedly she had sex with him, and then gave birth to their son Tammuz, who was the reincarnated sun god of Nimrod. And by the way, Semiramis, or Nimrod, married his mother. And we go back to Aleister Crowley having sex with your mother, saw his father's nakedness. So that whole thing is rotten. But like I said, when I was a young man, I first thought, oh my gosh, Gilbert, it never changed me. And I didn't know about it, but even when I knew about it, it changed me a little bit out of deference for what the Bible says about the ornamentation of the way of the heathen and do not be married to the world. The fact that it's not in the Bible, I think, is very telling. But man-made traditions, it's up to the person. I don't think that. Do I think people are celebrating these evil things at Christmas? No, I don't think they are at all. And you only have children that are small for a little bit in your life. If this is one of the things that is a thing that they're excited about, and they are, you should do that, man, because you're never going to get those days back. Right. But there is a story to this stuff.
No, and I'm glad that you brought up. Like I said, we're not having this podcast to ruin the moment. We're just talking about the history because I didn't know.
And also, I had a thought when I was researching this. I thought, wouldn't it be interesting? I can't find it anywhere. I might be able to one of these days if I'm onto something here. But wouldn't it be interesting if the reason the evergreen tree is so prevalent in this pagan tradition is because it is actually the tree of the knowledge of good and evil? Or are they worshiping the tree of the knowledge of good and evil? If it's an evergreen. So it's just my crazy brain, but I'm just...
Well, here's my crazy brain. Okay? So, I have a 2 p.m. podcast called You're Beautiful. It's the importance of a relationship with Jesus, not necessarily the religion. I've had people, Brian, I'm not sure you want to be on my show because they brought up pagan.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? But I'm like, I don't care. I still want you on the show. So if somebody claims, and if I'm saying that right, pagan, wouldn't it kind of be cool to get somebody on the show because we have so much more knowledge about these origins? Because if that's the religion that you, I don't want to use the word worship or practice, I'm not sure the proper verbiage here, but they got to have a heck of a lot more intel than myself. So I wonder if we could have a show where we get somebody on here and kind of recap some of the times that we brought up paganry. I think that would be cool unless you think I'm crazy.
No, I think it's cool, but here's the cold water thrown on the pagans. If you ever read this book, The Two Babylons, you'll find out that Nimrod had several names throughout history. So what would happen if, like when you get a cheeseburger at a fast food restaurant?
I know about this topic. Let's go.
What do they call the big cheeseburger at Burger King?
The Whopper.
What do they call it at McDonald's?
The Big Mac.
Okay, but it's the same thing. It's the same idea, concept, whatever it is. It's a cheeseburger.
No, it's a Big Mac.
Once these pagan stories got out about Nimrod, as it would go from country to country, they would change their names. It no longer was Nimrod. It was Apollo or Zeus or someone else. Maybe in Indian lore, it was Shiva or whatever. Mm-hmm. So, but that's the thing about the pagans. There's so many people that say, well, I follow the Norse gods, Thoth and this and that. But it all comes back to Nimrod. He is the originator of the anti-religion of Christianity. Okay? So maybe that's what the Catholics knew and thought, we've got to save these people. But on the other hand, you're doing all the pagan customs, So I'm still up in the air about that, but that was a decision I'm glad I didn't have to make.
So because I'm not educated, Mr. Naive Trust, how do you call somebody out other than me just doing it if they practice this pagantry?
You just gotta let it go, man.
So you don't think someone will come on the show?
No, I think they will, but I'm saying you're not going to change. People don't like being told what to do.
I'm not telling them what to do. That's what this podcast is about. It's not, don't get me wrong, folks, we've said it before, that what we speak of doesn't necessarily reflect the views of RiverBender.com. These are our opinions with due diligence, research, and some dorky dad involved. That's me on TikTok, but I just think it would be cool that I open it up because I like to hear other viewpoints than what sometimes you might say, well, I might have pissed this person off or I might have... No, we're talking an opinion and I would like to get their opinion.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm not up on one of the Norse gods, but it's interesting. I think Freya was a Norse goddess, and I think that's where you get the Friday from, and I think... that was the day that you would go out and do things that would increase your sexual libido, and then on Saturday, it was Saturn's day, you would partake in such proclivities.
So he's talking about Rome. He's talking about these 2 days. I think we're attracting some new viewers.
And then on Sunday you would atone. So it almost sounds like what's that big deal in New Orleans, Mardi Gras.
Mardi Gras,
yeah. Fat Tuesday, Shrove Thursday. Anyway, this is a little show, but we've got one more video.
I gotta get my Jerry Springer beats. Where were you going at with this?
We've got show the last video so we can go out.
Is it homie?
Yeah.
Okay. So before we do, because it's not gonna last that long, because we got about 7 minutes.
Oh, we can. That's fine.
Right. Let me just say this again. So for the next 2 weeks, we've got Christmas, we've got New Year's. We're going to be off the air. Let me remind you again. Is there a topic you would like us to research and bring up and bring back to the surface that we could do our homework and do our due diligence for you? If you don't want to comment on Facebook, my email is trustonriverbender@gmail.com. And I'm only going to say it one more time, then I'll drop it. Atheist, pagantry, you don't think that we can get somebody on the air? I mean, it's not like a bad reflection.
I've got more respect for the pagans than I do an atheist because at least they believe in something.
Okay, so there we go. So we want to do something a little bit different. Knowing that we're going to be gone for 2 weeks, Troy thought that 'tis the season, we should do it with a little bit more humor. Is that the proper way to say it? Are you ready?
Yeah.
And here we go. I got to hit play, Troy.
Troy. Stick. I know, but it ain't just an ordinary stick. You could be a baseball player. Like, what's that big fat white boy name? Babe Ruth.
I don't want to be a baseball player.
Well, then you could play the flute, be the Pied Piper of Hammertown.
I don't want to be a flute player.
Then here, why don't you just go lead the parade?
I want to lead
I said lead the damn parade. Big kid, come sit down. You scream in my ear again, big kid, it's gonna be me and you.
Hi, homie.
Now what can homie Claus get for you?
Okay. Homie, I would like a refracting telescope model 897560-392504. You know, something I can look at all the constellations and the stars with.
Oh, so you not just a big dumb kid, you a brainy kid.
Yeah, homie.
Homie's got just the thing for you. Here you go.
But homie, this isn't no refracting telescope.
It's better than that. It's an observatory. Go ahead, why don't you put it on your head?
I told you I had one of those in the studio. That was awesome.
Funny.
So listen, we're going on Christmas break. We want to wish.
So what, we're not coming back?
Well, I mean, if you find the time and we want to sneak an episode in, it's not like we got keys to the studio. No. But you know what? With your help, your encouragement, and your inspiration, I'm telling you, give us a topic. We could do our due diligence. We could do our research, and we just might sneak an episode in and throw a shout out to the person who came up with it. Am I right?
Who's that?
Whoever comes up with the idea.
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Well, I've got some no one else does.
Okay. So here's the other thing, folks. We got a few minutes. You know, our Conspiracy and Mysteries has only been on for a couple months. We would definitely like your input. Sometimes if you don't want to comment on Facebook because you're talked about at Christmas during Christmas dinner and your crazy ideas and theories, well, guess what? There's two guys right here who wants to hear about the rabbit holes. And matter of fact, I'm telling you, I'm on it. I would love to have a whistleblower on the show.
Well, you know, why don't we do that? Or have one of the bits shows, because there's people that, you know, they've commented about what they want us to look into, but to make a whole show out of it is difficult, you know.
Well, we're talking about Rodney, which we got to learn how to do the Zoom. You know, we've got someone out there. But listen, we would love to hear from you. Trust on Riverbender at gmail.com. You can comment right here on our Facebook, as well as Conspiracies and Mysteries, Riverbender Radio. Troy, you got any outros you want to share? We got 2 to 3 minutes.
Don't take what I say as gospel, because we're just trying to get through our lives, you know. And a lot of people don't want to know things. We're all in Plato's cave, and but it is interesting, you know, when you read a good book about the origins of things, you have a hard time putting it down. So, you know. But some people don't care about that. Some people just want to know, we're going to go out and look at the lights, what's for dinner, you know, whatever.
What Black Friday special is there?
Yeah, right.
You know, but you are right. So a lot of us don't care to know, but you know what? Truth speaks volumes.
Yeah.
So, you know, let's carry on the traditions. Like Troy said, when you got those little kids and there's that infectious love for the holiday, let's cherish these moments and memories. And I'm not saying disregard what Troy had to share with you today, but don't be deceived about the origins of these holidays, and that's why we bring those to you, and I'm gonna share with you. I still resonate with Halloween. I learned so much about Halloween.
It's interesting, yeah.
And I will tell you, Halloween and Christmas, one of the biggest things, I don't want to use the word deception, but you have me flabbergasted to realize that these holidays that we celebrate on these particular days were not the origins.
Yeah, right.
You know, of where they originated from. And that's bad origins and originated, but that's what gets me. Or the barbaric.
Yeah, we had a blade
history
past, didn't we, before we ever learned not to. That's why Jesus came, so he was the sacrifice, and we didn't have to do any more of this human sacrifice.
Right, that was barbaric. So listen, I'm going to do a better job the next time we come on air. I did 2 bloopers tonight where you couldn't hear me, but hopefully you were trying to read our lips for